Kicking it with Kay and Clay. 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 Hey everybody. Welcome to Kicking It with Kay and Clay. I'm your girl Kay Marie, and I thank you for tuning in to this very, very special live show. Okay. And momentarily we will have Dr. K. She'll be joining us. She is a very, very busy ER and trauma doctor. So was gracious enough to give us a few minutes of her time. Was just getting off of work. So I said, hey, we want you here live. Take your time. And, when you get in, I will add her. So thank you again for tuning in to this very, very special live show. Again, we're going to be talking about facts versus myths when it comes to the COVID-19 vaccine. It's a lot of stuff going around. Your girl right here. I was one of those people that said, I'm not getting ish. Okay. I was very vocal about it. Some of you may have heard me say that on different platforms. I mean, I was like straight up, like, I'm not getting it. There's no way. None. But I had a change of heart and I did my own research. And Clay and I, we are both vaccinated. We have been fully vaxxed since May. We got our second shot in May. And I'm just so glad for it. And I know we're talking with different people, family, friends, co-workers, etc., that a lot of people are on the fence. They have a lot of questions. And that's why it prompted me to do a show like this. I've been trying to get in touch with Dr. K for about since June or so, so again, very busy. And I just thank her for this time. And for those of you who have questions, Dr. K will be able to, answer some questions you may have, some, because it's important. You really have to know what you're getting into. It's good to know what's in it. Again, research is very, very key. Just quickly, just to tell my story until Dr. K gets here. After I was like, I'm not getting it, I get it, there's no way. Clay kind of like changed my mind. He was adamant. He's like, I'm getting it. He was over one of his best friend's houses, and his wife was just telling her husband, like, you should get it. And she was just very, very emotional about it because somebody in his family gotten it, and she was very, very sick. But it's no joke, And I moved from I'm not getting that ish to, well, I'll just wait a little bit to, okay, I made a decision. I'm going to get it. Okay. Now, it's no secret. I am a Christian. And look, I was like, Lord, I need you. Let me know what to do about this. And as I, prayed and I sought God and I wanted to follow peace, one thing that stuck out to me that was communicated to me was that scripture in Luke where it says, and it's in red because, Jesus is speaking for those who believe, the word of God. He said that if you take up any deadly thing, it shall not harm you. And I'm going to welcome in Dr. K. She's here. Hey.
Hi, Kay. How are you? Can you hear me okay?
I can. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Sorry that I was kind of running late at work.
Oh, no. I was just explaining to everyone that I'm like, look, y'all, she is a very busy ER trauma doctor. So I thank her for the time that she's given us. So just bear with us. I was just briefly telling like my story, how I was like, I wasn't getting it. I don't know if you remember on the show that we did, when we talked about
the flu shot.
Oh, you remember? Okay.
I do. Because when I saw on your page that you got the vaccine, I was like, oh wow.
Right? I still don't mess with the flu shot though. I said, but
I ain't gonna say nothing. Listen.
but yeah, so I went from like I'm not getting it. It's too quick for me. I don't know. It's not, FDA. I just was not getting it. And like I was telling the people, I was very vocal about it on different platforms. Like, I'm not getting it. Like, y'all can do what you do, but I'm not getting it. But over a little time, it just started resonating in me and my fiance because we both got it. And like I said, I'm a Christian, so I had to seek the Lord on this. I really, really did. And the one scripture that stuck out to me was, if you take up any deadly thing, it shall not harm you. Like if you don't know that it's deadly, it's not going to harm me. My faith is strong. So I believe that. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and get it. And so I'm going to get it. And my mother got it. And my brother has it. He works in healthcare. My auntie got it. So it's a lot of people that I know that has gotten it, but it's a lot of people that's on the fence. Hence this show tonight.
Okay.
So, again, everyone, this is Dr. K. She is a ER doc. She is also an advisor to other to medical students, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So she knows her stuff.
Residents.
Right. She knows her stuff. Okay. So, okay, let's just dive into it.
Okay.
The vaccine. A lot of not just a lot of us, um, people who just listening. I was rubbing my skin as a lot of people with melanin. Not just us are not, getting it, but it's other people that's not too. Because I think number one, they don't know what's in it and they think that it came out too quickly. What do you have to say about that?
Okay, so I think I like this method. I like this format addressing people's hesitancies, right? So
Yes.
what's in it, right? We don't know what's in it. We don't know what's in half of the things we put in our body. Like, I'm eating this raisin bran right here that I like, right?
Hmm.
I'm assuming it's raisin, but I don't know all the itty gritty bitty. So that argument is, I'm like, half the things we consume we don't know, right? It's like all the vaccines. But there are different types, right? The Pfizer and Moderna is mRNA. And so I know it's an mRNA vaccine. And what mRNA means is it contains the genetic code to make something, right?
Okay.
And the concern with the mRNA, what's in it was that it's going to change my DNA, it's going to go into my nucleus. It doesn't do that,
Right.
right? Basic biology tells me that mRNA, which is what codes protein, that's what makes you you. That's what tells your body what to make what to make enzymes. The mRNA is translated to that protein, that spike protein in the cytoplasm, which is the cell of the body. It has no way to go into your DNA. It's not a miracle worker, right? I'm Christian as well. Jesus is the only one that performs miracles.
Yes.
This mRNA thing cannot go into your nucleus, cannot change your DNA. What's in it? Johnson and Johnson. It's what they call a vector vaccine, which we use for a lot of other vaccines. So we know that we've had this before, right? It works. So Pfizer and Moderna have your mRNA, which do not enter your nucleus, so they have no way to change your genetics.
Okay.
And Johnson and Johnson uses a virus called adenovirus vector, which we know, which we use in other vaccines. So that's question number one: what's in it? The other stuff in it, I'm not a vaccine developer. I didn't look at the details. I just trust because all the other vaccines that I've had typhoid, hepatitis, rabies. I'm not looking at those either. So I just hope to God you're right. We're moving in faith too because I've injected other vaccines in my body. Why would this be all of a sudden so different, right?
Exactly.
Everybody make a big deal from the typhoid vaccine? No, So that's how I respond to that. Was made too quickly. So actually, it wasn't because Dr. Kizzy, we all love her. Dr. Corbett, she was working with the NIH, the black
Yeah.
scientist that was head of the coronavirus team. Her team has been working on this for years. If you remember, COVID is actually SARS-CoV-2. So there was actually a SARS-CoV-1 several years ago. In fact, I think I may have still been in Nigeria at that time where there was like a respiratory virus. And they have been interested in coronaviruses for a very long time. So the work that we see is because of years of development. But why it looked like it was fast was because this was a pandemic. People were dying, hospitals were shutting down, our health systems were about to collapse. And so the entire world pulled together resources. These things are backed by government, backed by private donors, because we're like, we need to find a solution. People are not sleeping, people are day in, day out working. So that's why it seemed fast, because we had to find a fast solution. But actually, there's been a lot of background work already.
Mm.
Dr. Corbett and her team, had already like built, like they had been working on coronaviruses for a while. They had looked at their genome, looked at their sequences. So thank God that we had SARS-CoV-1 when we did a longer time
Hmm.
ago, so that they could be like, this thing is interesting. This could have potential, of being
Hmm.
a worrisome virus. So a lot of people think all of a sudden this development came overnight. No, scientists have been working on this for a very long time. And we were just catapulted into the vaccine development because of the need, and because we're like, okay, we're working nonstop and governments are funding this. So even though it came out fast, it is not a new thing, because
Okay.
they've been working on it. The NIH has been working on this. And also, concern with coming out fast is, oh, well, it didn't meet all the safety profiles, right? And so before they got the EUA, we have three main stages of vaccine development: stage one, stage two, stage three.
Okay.
Stage one, they do it like in like just a few people to say, is this safe? What side effects? The next stage is, does it mount the response that we want? Is it getting the adequate levels of antibodies? Then the next stage is, as compared to the general population, does it work?
Okay.
And they did all of that. It was expedited because we don't have 2 years for this thing to wipe out half of the world's population.
Yeah.
So many people died, lost their
Yeah.
livelihoods. This thing put our entire world on hold. So
It
there was
did.
a sense of urgency. So we don't have 2 years, 3 years to do phase one, phase two, phase three trials. As long as there was evidence it worked, we moved on. And guess what? Do you know how many people have received this vaccine now?
No.
Millions and billions of people have received the vaccine. And what are the side effects, right? So side effects have come out. But what gives me hope is that when they recognize the side effects, they actually put out warnings and say, hey, put this on hold. We need to look at this. They evaluate them and they're being transparent with it. And so the fact that something has a side effect doesn't mean it was rushed, or doesn't mean it's bad. It means it's medicine, and
Yeah.
all medicines have side effects. And the fact that they're catching things means that part of that regulatory process is still ongoing. So people are still in the trials, they are still monitoring them. So my encouragement to everybody on the fence is, this is safe. They are taking this seriously. We have a monitoring event app. If you get a vaccine, you get side effects, to monitor in that app, and it works. It works. It's safe. I understand your hesitancy, but a lot of us have taken it and we're still here.
Yeah.
And
But you know what though? I feel like my close friends have told me that people that they know,
Mhm.
they took the shot. I don't know if it's like it might have been the second shot, and something like could catastrophic happened to them, and they linked it to the shot because they were fine before then, and unbeknownst to them, they didn't have any underlying conditions. So what?
Yeah. Do you mind giving me examples of the catastrophic things that happen?
I can't remember what she said, but it was something that was, I was like, wow.
But see, that's the thing. Unless I get an example, people
Yeah.
say all sorts, and until I get an example, so I can, in full transparency, I'll tell you some of the side effects that we've seen. But again, anything has side effects. So the
Mm-hmm.
fact that this one has side effect, you have to weigh. In medicine, everything is we do is risk benefit.
Mm-hmm.
So even before I order a test on you, if you come to my ER, for example, I ordered labs on so many people today. If I stick you with a needle, I could tear your skin, I could infect your skin, I could, injure your blood vessel, but the benefit outweigh the risk because I want to know what's wrong. I want to know if there's any lab abnormality. So there's nothing that is without risk.
Yeah.
And so the side effects of the COVID vaccine, in full transparency, I'll tell you the ones that I know.
Okay.
The first is called Guillain-Barré. It's just a fancy name for weakness of the legs.
Hmm.
But that happens with the flu vaccine. I've had friends that have had
Mhm.
the flu vaccine. That happens with any vaccine. It's just the nature of medicine.
Okay.
Nothing is perfect. And like you said, I'm a woman of faith too. So I take these vaccines. I pray to God, God, don't let it be me that has a side effect.
Right. Right.
No,
Right.
you know what I
Right.
say? Like, God, don't let today be the day this thing decides to act up in my body. Please, Lord.
Right.
You know? So that's the Guillain-Barré. I don't know if you saw in the news 2 weeks ago, I think it was a 13-year-old boy that died 3 days after his vaccine. They found fluid around his heart. That's another known vaccine, and they have put it on the labels. It's myocarditis pericarditis. Just that means inflammation around the heart. We don't know why it happens. It's rare, but it happens. We're talking about 1 to 3 in 1 million. Now,
Okay.
when you're that one person that it affects, you don't care about the other 990 something, because it affects you. But that's how rare it is. We think about things that are less than 0.1%, less
Yeah.
than that. That is super rare. But in full disclosure, transparency, it happened. So I don't know what category your friend fell into.
Yeah. I can't remember. I'm sorry, but
No, it's
I've heard like
yeah,
a few things,
yeah.
that when people said, "Oh, I didn't have this happen before I took the vaccine." So,
But
and,
you know what? It could have
mhm,
happened without the vaccine, anyways. If they were going to break their leg, and I got my vaccine yesterday, there's no way to prove causation,
mhm,
right? You can't say because I took the vaccine yesterday and I broke my leg today, the vaccine made me weak. But the associations that the data, because they are really looking at this seriously, is the Guillain-Barré I told you about, the inflammation of the heart, and then the blood clots, the Johnson and Johnson
mhm,
especially, and so they found that because the way we look at the side effects is we combine it to the general population. So how likely is the general population to get a blood clot, for example?
yeah,
What's the rate in general population versus the rate in the vaccine group? And so they found that the Johnson and Johnson, can predispose to this, it's a certain kind of blood clot in the brain. And so we, as your doctor, I look at your history and I say, okay, you
mhm,
probably shouldn't take that. So those are the side effects that I have heard that are catastrophic. Most times you just have, weakness, fever, joint ache, all of that stuff. But you get that with a lot of viral vaccines as well. Like when I get my
yeah,
shot, my arm is sore for a few days,
yes,
So, and a lot of vaccine hesitance, I've heard is just, oh, side effect this, that. But it's not different from any other drug. And we take millions of drugs every day. Um,
I know another factor that's been swirling around is that, oh, it caused infertility. Now, I before I took my vaccine, I spoke with my GYN, and I said, "Do you advise me getting this vaccine?" Because my fiance and I, we're gonna, thinking about going there with a child. So she's like, "No, I totally recommend that you get it." I was like, "Okay." So, and then I saw another um, Facebook Live, like a week before I was going to get my first shot, and it was like black doctors, black gynecologists, doctors, and they were um, coming against that myth, that it causes infertility. Because one of my friends, uh, she has a 18-year-old daughter, but her doctor advised her against getting it She said, I don't advise you getting it if you plan on having kids one day. That's what her doctor told her.
Hmm. Okay. So only God knows where
Yeah.
this came from. Let me tell you. But where I suspect this came from is there is a portion of the protein, the spike protein is how the coronavirus like kind of latches onto
Yeah.
the cells. You must have heard of spike protein in the news. So there's a portion of it, from what I remember when this thing came out. I forget the correlation, but there was some correlation with the spike protein and something with that was it estrogen levels. I can't remember, but something
Okay.
silly like that. But do you know how many times a year this same spike protein is manifested in other coronaviruses? Coronavirus is a cold. Do you know how many times we've gotten infected with coronaviruses? Countless. We have colds every year.
Yeah.
Well, I probably have antibodies to some coronaviruses. So if those don't make me infertile, what is so special about this one
Right.
on the SARS-CoV-2? Because they're all in the same family.
Yeah.
So I don't know how that myth gained fire, but you're right. It spread on the internet like wildfire.
Yeah, I did.
And you know the problem is where once we see something negative, God, we hold on to it.
Right.
There is
Right. It's just
no
like they're like, see, this is
exactly.
like
But
what?
well, even if it does, Kay, even if it does, it's too early to tell. We're not even 1 year into fully. It's honestly, if this thing causes infertility, we're not going to know till 3, 4, 5 years time, and then there's no way to prove. How are you going to prove it? But the part is that the protein that they say is responsible, I forget the mechanism. You see it in other coronaviruses. Everybody has coronavirus every year. You blow your nose, you have catarrh, your body has already been exposed to that protein. So if you have not developed infertility for the 5, 10 years you've been having a cold every winter, why would you do it now? Does that so I want people to think about that critically.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why what is special about this one? It doesn't have two heads.
That's true.
It's the same protein. It's the same protein, okay? But
Yeah.
that's what I have to
You
say.
you said something that was interesting. You said that coronavirus has always been around, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what makes this so different?
Girl, it decimated. It's trying to stop the whole world. It put the whole world on. I said, stop. You all are busy with your lives. No, I'm gonna tell you how to live life.
Yeah.
It's virulent. It's the mortality. People are dying. People are
Yeah.
hospitalized. Where did it come from? I've asked myself that question where it came from. I don't want to like say some conspiracy theories.
Right, right, right.
So a lot of my colleagues think it just came like free form. I think honestly, I won't be surprised if 2, 3, 4 years from now, we find out that there was a lab error that was made because the virus is like almost perfect.
Mm,
It transmits easily, it transmits quickly, and it makes people sick. I mean, when you hear of a cold making people fluid in their lungs, sometimes flu does that. Flu RSV do that. But this thing was easily transmissible
yeah.
all over the world.
Yeah, yeah, I have some theories myself,
Yeah,
but
so I won't,
I
I won't be surprised in 2, 3 years time. I'm gonna let them do this investigation, but it's just too efficient. It's
yeah,
too perfect.
yeah,
I don't know.
me personally, I do think it was lab created, but maybe to stop population control, something like that on that lines. But that's just me.
So see, I'm not that far. I don't think it was intentional. I don't think it was intentional. I think somebody enthusiastic was doing an experiment
Mm,
and by mistake. Maybe I'm being naive, but I'm hoping they weren't trying to decimate the
yeah,
population. Goodness, that's super scary to think
it's
about.
very scary. Yeah.
I think it was an error that was made. I don't know.
Okay. Okay. Other questions about the vaccine. So this new Delta variant that we're seeing like currently, there's some talks like, well, those who are vaccinated, does it protect against that variant? Does the vaccine protect against any type of strain that might come about? What are your thoughts on that?
So yes, there's evidence that at least I know the Pfizer protects against Delta. But the thing is, the vaccine is your safest bet against severe disease. So when the vaccines were made, remember, our systems were collapsing. So the aims of this vaccine was not to completely prevent infection. The aim was prevent hospitalizations and prevent death,
Yes.
right? And so when people come and say, well, people still get COVID, I'm like, are they in the hospital? If you look at the data, most of recent COVID hospitalizations and deaths are in unvaccinated people.
Mm-hmm.
That's the proof you need right there. That's the proof you need right there. The cases of, in the new cases of COVID I've diagnosed, only one person was vaccinated. In the past 2 weeks, the cases I've diagnosed were all in unvaccinated people. And so that's the proof right there.
Mm-hmm.
So even if you end up unfortunately getting COVID, Delta, whatever variant is running around, if you're vaccinated, you are less likely to get sick, less likely to get hospitalized, and less likely to die.
Yeah.
But when people tell me, well, but my cousin died, this is, nothing is perfect. We're talking about odds here, probabilities, we're talking about rates. Nothing is 100%.
Yeah.
But your best chance at survival, your best chance at beating this virus is to get vaccinated.
I agree.
It's
I
just so
agree.
simple. And when people want to go on a back and forth, I don't know. I just,
So how does that work? Say, because we know, like you just stated, it's not 100%. Of course, it's not. And like you said, if you're vaccinated, and if you get it, like you said, it won't be as serious as somebody who is not vaccinated. Um, so what about those people who are vaccinated, right? Um, can they more likely get it from someone that's unvaccinated?
you mean, so you said people that are vaccinated, can they
Mm-hmm.
get it from unvaccinated people?
Yeah.
They are more, so yes, because the data they found has found out that if you're vaccinated and you get COVID, you're not shedding as much viruses. And if you don't shed as much viruses, then you don't transmit as easily, right?
Mm-hmm.
So based on that data, it makes sense that if I'm vaccinated and I catch it, I probably got it from an unvaccinated
Mm-hmm.
person. But the thing is, it's probabilities and odds. Nothing is perfect.
Mm-hmm.
We live in an imperfect world. This isn't heaven,
Mm-hmm.
but this is your best chance.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had people tell me, "Well, I'll take my chances of catching COVID." I'm like, "Well, if you want to, if you want to gamble, that's just a gamble. That's just a
That's a big gamble. See, and I'm not a gambler like that. I really value my health and my safety, and that was like the number one reason why I chose, me and my fiance, my mom, my auntie. That's why we chose to get vaccinated. Um, it's not a gamble that I am willing to risk.
the
It's
stakes are too high."
it's very
And
high.
and the thing is, when you've seen people struggling and dying from COVID, like I have, young people, not even old people, young people, they're struggling and putting them on BiPAP intubating. Like you fear, I literally, I would go into work every day praying that God, don't let this be the day I catch this virus. I used to be
Mm,
scared to go to work. I used to be terrified. My parents were concerned.
yeah,
And so when this vaccine came out, goodness, the hope it gave me, I got bold. I had a little more spring in my step because I was like,
yeah,
"God, there is hope. It's not 100%, but it's better than anything else." And the data is there. If you go to CDC, Google, anybody listening right now, just Google, what is the percentage of on the people who are hospitalized? What percentage are unvaccinated? They make a majority of that. Science doesn't lie. Data doesn't lie. Data is objective. And I've had people say, well, they are falsifying the data, making up the data. I mean, what are you gonna say to that?
mm-hmm. Right. Your mind is already made up if you're going down that road.
Mhm, mhm. What are you gonna say to that? You can't say anything to
You
that.
can't. Like, well, hey.
Yeah, yeah. And I've had people that have had COVID. refuse to get the vaccine. And that one I don't understand because I'm like, I guess if you defeated COVID, you feel maybe, oh, okay, maybe it wasn't that bad. I got a little sniff, I got a little cough.
And some people think because they've had it that they're now immune. Is that false or is that true?
The problem is we don't know how long that immunity lasts. So by definition, you should have antibodies. But we don't know how long that antibodies last. And we don't know that everybody mounts a response because not everybody mounts a response. And I'll talk about two different things. The first one is not everybody mounts a response. Let's talk about that in the
Okay.
vaccinated and unvaccinated people. So in people that have had COVID before, right? There's no way to prove that you have antibodies. I had a friend, COVID positive, sick, like actually sick, but wasn't hospitalized, was sick at home.
Okay.
We tested for antibodies later, nothing. So
Hmm.
did this person have antibodies and they went away? Did they never get antibodies? But I couldn't say they were immune because they didn't have antibodies. So when you go around saying I had COVID before, I'm immune now, unless you check, there's no way to know. And if you have antibodies today, what are their levels? We call them titers. What are their levels? Are you going to recheck next week or the next 2 weeks? There's no way to check that. And we all know that antibodies for different viruses, they wax and they wane. And I've had people get reinfected with COVID. So I know of somebody that, for example, in May, I'm using May as an example
Mm-hmm.
because we're in July. In May, had symptoms positive for COVID. In June, completely fine, went back to normal, repeat test negative. In July, same thing, symptoms, sick, can't breathe, COVID positive.
Mm.
That had to be a new infection because the person had that entire month where they had no symptoms and they had a test and it was negative. So I don't
Mm-hmm.
think the COVID was lingering in the body, caused no symptoms, they were negative, and then came back in July. So the only sense it made was this was a new infection. So that's when I really got worried about this virus. I was like, was this a different strain
Mm.
that they were infected with? So for people that are listening and they've had COVID before, it's a false assurance. You probably have antibodies, but there's no way to tell if you mounted one and how high it is. So get vaccinated. The other I want to address are people that have underlying conditions. So how
Okay.
much of an immune response are you mounting, right? So when you have underlying conditions that require immunosuppressants, like when you have rheumatoid arthritis, multiple sclerosis, you have to take immunosuppressant drugs. Um, a lot of my people that I've diagnosed vaccinated with COVID, and even from people I'm hearing, my colleagues, is people that take those immunosuppressant drugs. And so the thought is that because they're on those drugs, their body is not mounting enough of a response. So they're then in a breakthrough case. So if you're listening and you're on any immunosuppressant drugs for any reason at all, you want to be very cautious. You still got to wear your mask. You still got to protect yourself because anecdotally, based on what I'm seeing and what my colleagues are seeing, a lot of these breakthrough cases are in people that have those drugs.
Oh, okay. And can you just explain? I mean, I know what it is, but for somebody who doesn't know, what are breakthrough cases?
So breakthrough cases are cases of COVID in people that are vaccinated.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have an autoimmune condition, like I mentioned, rheumatoid arthritis is one, lupus, anything, even like HIV is one because you're taking immunosuppressant drugs. Anything that suppresses your immune system naturally, if you have like thyroid disease, if you're taking any of those drugs, the concern is when you get your vaccine because your body is trying to already suppress your immune system. The vaccines are not reaching those levels of antibodies. So I would say those people have to be especially careful. They are more susceptible to getting a breakthrough case.
Okay. And so for those who are vaccinated, is it safe to say that their antibody levels are high? And do you recommend for the vaccinated people that they get their antibodies checked?
So a lot of scientists will tell you no.
Okay.
Well, let me tell you what I personally have not had time to do, but I want to check my anti levels because I'm so worried. I think the last time I called the lab, they told me it was $150. That's why I didn't go. If it was free, I would have gone. So if it was free, I would have gone. So when I have time, I will call around some labs in my area and be like, yo, how much you guys charging? If it's $50
Right.
or less, I'm gonna do it. So a lot of people will tell you no because that's why in the first two phases of the study, they actually measure the level, the it's called the titers. They measure the titers. And that's how they recommend the dosing to give people. But listen, if I was taking an immunosuppressant drug, I probably would want to know what my levels were.
Okay.
But even without that, I think I still wouldn't know because I'm so skeptical. I'm like, what if, see, when I got my vaccine, I didn't get sick, I didn't get fever, I didn't get pain. My arm
You
was,
didn't?
I didn't. So I was like, am I even mounting a response?
Well, am I even worth a symptom? Um,
I
I,
was like, I wanted to feel something. I wanted to know it was working. So
you
I'm
know what?
not
That's how my fiance and my mom was. The first, nothing, nothing at all. Me, on the other hand, I, of course, I had the sore arm, which went away like, the next day. But my second shot, I was just a little bit fatigued. Um, I might have had like just a slight fever, just a little chills. I mean, it wasn't like I could still like get around, but I was laying on a couch. I got it on a Saturday, so Sunday I was just very sluggish. I was laying on a couch pretty much the whole day. I have another podcast that I do with friends. I was on the couch for that, wrapped up in my blanket. But then the next day, I was good.
see, at least you got something, so you know it's worked. I'm jealous. I had nothing. I have no proof. I'm just working on faith right now. So that's what I want to check. I want to check my for real.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Yeah. But and I'm not going to, hold you long, but it's just really important, I think, to be vaccinated. Of course, everybody have their own, reasons for doing it or not doing it. That's cool. So what about like the herd immunity? Because I know that different, like with LA, they went back to wearing, even if you're vaccinated, they went back to wearing masks indoors. Um, because I guess a lot of people is out there getting it, and it is a lot of the unvax, but they want everybody to mask back up. Um, why do you think that is? And when I say that is, I'm talking about like the percentage. Like what's a good percentage we would need in order to be like, oh, okay, I'm footloose and fancy free. Even though I'm a little laxed on my mask wearing. I don't really. The only time I wear it is if I go into an establishment and they say wear it, you know. But pretty much I don't. I'm just out here.
Girl, the air is gross. The mask is your best friend. Girl, the air is so gross. Listen, let me tell you, this mask time, this little cold, this little cough. Normally, every winter season, I'm always like with some kind of virus because that's where I work. Nothing this winter. So I was like, wow. In fact, I think every time I work now, even whenever for the future, I'm gonna wear my mask because it protected me from so much stuff.
It has. I have not gotten like the regular cold in a minute. So yeah.
Yeah. So why not, right?
Yeah.
But going towards herd immunity, Dr. Fauci gave a number a while back. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. I think I recall 70 to 80%. I may be
Okay.
wrong, but I will check on that. But that's what I recall him saying. Right now, I just checked the data as of yesterday, 48.9%. We are 49% vaccinated. So until you have enough people vaccinated to prevent your infections, this thing is going, and this virus is smart. This virus is trying to outsmart us. You know,
Right.
they're looking at like, that's why I said it had to have been engineered.
Mhm.
I don't believe that this thing just came out of nowhere. I
Mhm.
personally don't, but I don't know. I may be wrong. I'll be interested in the booster as soon as they bring booster list. I'm like, sign me up. Especially since
I know that's right. Right.
I didn't have any response to the first two.
Right.
Oh my goodness! Well, we are far from herd immunity because right now over half of America is still not vaccinated, and that's a problem.
That is a problem. How long do you foresee this going? I-
If we're not vaccinated, this is going to go on as long as we let it. It's a smart and efficient virus. We have to be smarter, and we have opportunities to be smarter. We got to take advantage of them.
Yeah. So
Hopefully,
hopefully
hopefully he'll die. You know, like the Spanish. I think the Spanish flu. The Spanish flu, I think, lasted 2 years or so, and it killed a
two
lot of
years. Yeah.
people. Mhm. And it just died by itself. So hopefully, hopefully this thing will get
Yeah.
tired of humans and die by itself.
Right. And when we talk about vaccines, I mean, it's been vaccines for a lot of stuff that's hardly around now. Like you have what, polio, you know,
You know why polio isn't around?
no.
Because we vaccinated
Right,
people.
right, exactly. Right. Vaccines work. You had like the polio. What else is, some stuff we never even heard
Measles,
of.
measles, rubella,
Yeah.
mumps, pertussis, HIV, hemophilus influenza. Vaccines work.
They work.
I
They
didn't
work.
know I was in there, but I got them. So what is I keep saying that what this thing what makes this one so special? I'm telling you, this internet is dangerous. The
It's
misinformation.
very dangerous, and that's why I wanted to come on here and dispel the myths, from the facts. Because if people just getting their information from the internet, yeah, I would be scared too. It's a lot of misinformation out there, and for those who are on the fence, just do your research. If just do your research, and just keep a look at people who that are vaccinated, and I don't know, just I say just.
Get vaccinated, folks. Can't tell you to do your research. I want you to do your research, but
I
regardless
mean,
of what
I'm
your research shows, please,
yeah,
please, the benefits outweigh the risk.
it does.
And the population right now I feel bad for? The little kids under 12 going back to school can't be vaccinated. People are wearing masks. I am seeing cases of MISC in little kids. They are intubated in ICU,
I know.
heart failure, on blood pressure support medication. Children are sick.
Mm,
But we're releasing them in the fall. Schools are removing the option of virtual schooling. So poor parents, I have no choice but to send these kids to school.
yeah.
So that's the population I feel bad for, our kids. It just rips my heart apart.
I read recently that Pfizer is working on something for
Mm-hmm.
kids 12 and
They
under.
were, and I thought that it would be released by now. I thought it would have been released by end of June. That's the goodness. I worry about the fall. I worry that we're going to need another lockdown if things continue the way they are.
Hmm.
But I hope I'm wrong.
I hope so too. I really do. Any last words you want to leave my audience here?
Get vaccinated. Talk to your doctors. Don't believe the internet. Just find a doctor you trust and talk to them. Um, you know, bad things happen to people all the time. So your cousin, your grandma may have had a side effect, but listen, we have side effects with every single thing.
Yeah.
We're playing. Life is a game of probabilities.
Yeah.
You you just have to just trust. And you say, oh, I don't trust science. Oh, Tuskegee experiment. Oh, they want to experiment on people of color. I've heard that as well.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm like, non-people of color were the first to get these vaccines.
Right, and that's why I got it too. When I did, I'm like, they out there getting it. Let me get why they getting it.
I'm like, no. I'm like, we were even the ones, minorities, um, like populations were like hard to reach. Like there was restricted access initially. So I was like, that should be a sign. If
Hello. Yes.
minorities are like rushing to get this thing,
Right.
that should be a
Exactly. And I heard before we go, I heard this comic. He's a stand-up comic and he's also a pharmacist. He was like, "We not back there in CVS, like, oh, this is the black people vaccine. This is the white, no, it's all the same. It's all the same." So thank you so much for coming on, and hopefully, this will um bring some clarity for those who are on the fence, and you go out there and get your vaccination. I totally agree with what Dr. K is saying. The benefits really outweigh the risks here with this vaccine. Again, I'm the type of person, I'm not a big gambler. I don't like to lose my money on an unsure thing. So, like, these 50-50 odds, I'm going to go with the vaccine to keep me out the hospital. So hey, thank you for tuning in.
thank you,
This
everyone.
thank you for coming on, Dr. K. Again, I really appreciate it. And you,
You're
um,
very welcome.
thank you
I
so
pray
much.
that everybody stays healthy and everybody stays well. Take care, Kay.
Yes, you too. And everybody, I will see you next week. And I don't know if you heard, but I will be taking about a 2-month break. All of August, all of September. I'm getting married in September. And
Congratulations.
thank you. And I have some stuff to do up until then, so I need to focus on that right now. So, but I will be back in October, and again, it's one more episode for this month, next week, and then yeah, I will be bringing to you past shows on Wednesdays. So, thank you, everybody. Stay healthy, be wise, make wise decisions. Have a good day. Have a good night whenever you're looking at this, and be blessed. Bye.
Bye.